Hello and welcome to the channel English Literature a Click Away. This video covers The Ball Poem by John Billman, an American poet of the early 20th century. The Ball Poem is the fifth poem from the First Flight book by NCERT. Although the poem given by NCERT in the book is not the complete poem, yet it covers the essential part or the essential theme of the poem, that is coping with loss. So let's give it a read. This poem is in free verse. There is no specific rhyming scheme to it, and hence there are no specific stanzas. So we have just divided the poem into three parts for a better understanding. So let's have a look at it, each slide at a time. What is the boy now who has lost his ball? What is he to do? I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street, and then merrily over. There it is in the water. This poem is basically about how to cope with the loss of our dear possessions. Now here he has shown an example of a boy. The poem goes as if the poet can see a boy who has lost his ball and how he copes with the loss. See, for a boy or for any child, his toy is of utmost importance. So this boy who has lost his ball has gone into the water body that he's standing next to, and he cannot reach it, he cannot get it back. So the poet says, what is the boy now who has lost his ball? Now what here means in what situation is he? What is he like now that he has lost his ball? As long as he had his ball, he was a happy person. Now he has lost his ball. And what is the boy now? What happens to him now? What is he to do? So what is he supposed to do? Then he says, I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street, and then merrily over. There it is in the water. So the boy has lost his ball and he's sad about it. As opposed to that, the ball is merrily bouncing. Look at the contrast that has been drawn between the feelings of a boy and the supposed feelings of, now there's a personification here. The ball is shown to have feelings. The ball is merry, happy, joyful. Of course, the ball, when it bounces, it seems we bounce with joy. Similarly, the ball is bouncing. So the poet says that he has seen his ball, the boy's ball, bouncing down the street, and it has gone into, there it is in the water. He can see, he can look at the ball, but they cannot reach it. Neither the boy nor the poet, they cannot reach it. So he says, now what is a boy supposed to do now that he has lost his ball? No use to say, oh, there are other balls. An ultimate shaking grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid, trembling, staring down. Now, the poet says that when a person loses a thing that is very dear to him, very close to him, and at that moment, if you try to console the person, if you try to say nice things to him, like, no, you will get other things, you can buy other things, or this was supposed to happen, it doesn't help the person. Yes, because he's not sad because he lost the thing, but because of the feelings that were attached with that thing or that person. So the poet says that it is of no use saying that, oh, there are the balls, so you can get some other ball. Because this was the ball which was very dear to this boy. An ultimate shaking grief. So grief is sadness. So he says that what finally dawns upon after a loss, that is a grief, that the sadness, that finally has shaken the boy now. Okay, and it fixes the boy. The boy cannot move because of that sadness. He stands rigid. He is immovable, motionless. He is trembling though, and he's staring down. He's looking at the ball that is moving away from him. He feels helpless. All his young days into the harbor where his ball went. So he is staring down all his young days into the harbor. So he can look at the ball and he can see that all those days he has passed. He can feel that along with the ball, all his good memories, his good times are going away from him. That is why he feels sad. So all the feelings that were attached are also the good feelings, the happiness, the joy are moving away with the ball, wherever the ball is going. I would not intrude on him. Now this is a change that is coming into the boy in his feelings. The poet says, I am not going to disturb the boy. I am not going to say a word. because there is a process of how a person faces loss, and he will cross all those stages, and he knows that the boy will stand up back again. A dime, another ball is worthless. So he says that I'm not going to offer him good things or other good things. I'm not going to give him a dime, a 10-cent coin or another ball, because it is worthless. Now why is it worthless? Of course ball is not worthless, but the new ball will not have those feelings, all those memories that were attached with the ball. So that is why the new ball would be worthless. Now he senses first responsibility. So he says that I will not intrude him, I will not offer him a new ball or money in lieu of what he has lost, because it would be worthless. And what is worth? It is worth that he himself, the boy himself, realizes his first responsibility. And what is that? That is to accept his loss. And no one buys a ball back. Money is external. So again he says that buying the ball back does not buy back the memories, because money is external. Money is just material. But the feelings attached to those things, those are real and they cannot be bought back with any amount of money. He is learning well behind his desperate eyes the epistemology of loss, how to stand up. So he says that I will not intrude, I will not offer him a new ball or money, because money cannot buy feelings and money is external. And I will just let him be, because he is learning. He is learning to be responsible, to accept the loss, and well behind his desperate eyes. Now desperate here, it means hopelessness. See, initially when he has lost his ball, he feels hopeless, he cannot reach the ball and he feels that he has lost it. So behind those desperate eyes, he is trying to cope with the loss, the epistemology of loss, that is the process, the method or the scope of loss, and how to stand up back again after the loss. So he is learning all of that. So that is why I will just let him be. Knowing what every man must one day know, and most know many days how to stand up. So he says that I will just let him learn the epistemology, the process of loss, and knowing what every person, now he is generalizing the process of loss. He says that all of us, every human being is one day supposed to know, he must know how to stand up, how to come back again, how to pitch in again after a loss, and how to not lag behind just because of a loss. So he says, knowing what every man must one day know. Every man must know this one day, the process of coping with loss, and most know many days, and most of them already know. He says that most of them already may be knowing how to stand up. So that is the explanation of the poem. It's a very beautiful poem, and it has a deeper meaning than what is literally given in the poem. So the poem though speaks about a ball and a boy, but they are symbolic. The ball is symbolic of all our possessions, all our dear ones, and when they are lost, the boy represents any human being. So how we are supposed to cope with loss. So these are the central ideas, that is coping with loss, and the epistemology is, that is the process, the method of how to bear the loss, how to have the strength to bear the loss and stand up back again. Coming to the poetic devices. So as we have divided the poem into 3 parts, let's look at the first part on the first 6 lines. So there's anaphora. Anaphora is repetition of the first word of consecutive lines. So we see in the first and second line, the word what is repeated. What is a boy now? And in the second line, what is he to do? Also in the third and fourth line, the word merrily is repeated. Merrily bouncing, merrily over. So that is anaphora. Alliteration. So alliteration is repetition of consonant sound in words which are closely set in a sentence. So in the first line you see who, has and his. Now who, although it starts with a W, the sound that it gives is an H sound. So it is who, has and his. So all these words have the sound H in the beginning. That is why they are alliterating. Repetition. So in the second line we see the word what is repeated. What and what is he to do. So it emphasizes the rhetoric part what is he supposed to do now? So what do you think is he supposed to do now? Enjambment. Enjambment is when a sentence is continued in a poem. A sentence is continued to the next line of the poem without any punctuation mark. So here you see in the second, third and fourth line, the second line, I saw it go, is continued to merrily bouncing in the third line. Also, the third line ends with and then, and there's no punctuation mark, and it continues to the fourth line and then merrily over. So there's imagery in the third and fourth line. Imagery is the words used in the poem. They create an image in front of you so that you can see what the poet actually means. So in the third and fourth line, we see merrily bouncing down the street, and then merrily over, there it is in the water. So you can actually imagine the image, the picture, or the process of how the ball is bouncing down the street and it goes into the water. This personification, so as we saw that the ball is shown to have feelings, be joyful, merrily bouncing. So the ball is personified here. Coming to the next part of the poem, the next section. So here we have enjambment. Enjambment in the second, third and fourth line. So grief fixes the boy as he stands rigid. So it is continued from second to third. Then third to fourth, staring down all his young days, and again harbor where his ball went. Also in the now he senses his first responsibility. So there's enjambment in all these lines. Now there's a poetic device, asyndeton. Asyndeton is when there are no conjunctions which are supposed to be used in sentence and they are skipped. So we see here a dime, another ball is worthless. So instead of using conjunction a dime or another ball is worthless, poet has used commas over there. So the use of conjunction is skipped. So that is asyndeton. Next part of the poem. So the third part, in which starts with in a world of possessions, people will take balls. So there's alliteration. There's a lot of alliteration in this part. So we see the consonant sound B. B is repeated in balls, B, boy. Also in the third line, where B sound is repeated in buys, ball, back. Then in the sixth line, the sound of M sound is repeated in man, must, and also in the seventh, so most, no, many days. So the M sound is repeated in most and many. Now the phrase desperate eyes, it has a special poetic device, transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is when the feeling or the adjective of a particular noun is transferred to another noun that is related to it, but which cannot have that quality. So for here we see desperate eyes. Now it is actually the person who is hopeless. Desperate means, here it means hopeless. So the boy is hopeless and that is seen into his eyes. So desperate eyes is transferred epithet. So his eyes seem hopeless as he is. And there's symbolism, as we said, that the ball is symbolic of all the things that we possess which are dear to us, and the loss here symbolizes any kind of loss that we face in our life. So with that we come to an end with the explanation of the poem. The questions that you can expect from this poem may be based on extract or the central idea of the poem, that is epistemology of loss. Also, there is a special contrast between the feelings of the boy when he has lost the ball and the feelings of the ball, or how it has been shown that it is merrily bouncing. So that contrast can be brought up. You may also be asked, why does a poet not try to convince him or console the boy, or why he does not interfere with the epistemology of loss? And it may be answered like, because he wants the boy to learn. This is the time he learns. These small little things will teach him how to bear the loss. So that is why he does not want to interfere. He does not want to intrude, he says. He does not offer any help, or he does not offer a new ball or money in lieu of what he has lost. So that is the end of the explanation. So stay tuned and please subscribe to the channel to find explanations of many other chapters and poems which will be posted soon. Happy learning!